Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Where do you get your investment advice from? Do you research, read the papers, read financial reports, or speak with an investment professional? Or do you go to your phone and watch TikTok or YouTube and get your investment advice from financial influencers, also known as Finfluencers? And now we're going to switch off to social media. Everyone uses some form of social media. We're being inundated by scammers and fraudsters, especially grandparents, newcomers, and of course, romance scams. So what are the red flags and what should we be looking out for? To help us navigate these two important topics, I'm joined by Kerry Taylor. She's the creator of Squawkfox.com and host of the Cash and Kerry podcast. Kerry's joining us from Vancouver, British Columbia. Kerry, welcome to Empowered.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's great to see you virtually.
It's great to see you again, too. So let's just dive right in. What exactly is a Finfluencer?
Okay, well, we've heard about influencers, right? There are all those online personalities who grow huge social media followings. They're everywhere. They're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. And they get excited about beauty, gadgets, and whatever else there is to buy. Well, now we've got something called financial influencers or Finfluencers, and they're on social media, they're creators, and they make content all about money. And it could be about building wealth, investing, debt repayment, budgeting, you name it. And because personal finance is such a huge topic, there's so many different ways for Finfluencers to talk about money and even persuade us on how to spend it and invest it.
So what are the different types of Finfluencers?
Well, there's three, big buckets of influencers. And the first group is the skilled. These are the creators who have a recognized credential. They could be, a certified financial planner, a chartered accountant, a licensed insolvency trustee. They're all online and they're all making content. And these are the guys that went to school, to help Canadians with their money. They're often a member of a professional organization, an institute, and they work with a code of ethics and they have guidelines, right? These guys are regulated and they're accountable. And they go online and they share factual content about money to help Canadians. And they have a fiduciary duty. So they're out there and they're honest, they're giving factual information. And unfortunately, they don't have a lot of followers right now. And I guess because honest content isn't really flashy content. Mm-hmm. There's another group too. They're the unskilled influencers. And these guys post all different types of content. Their space tends to talk about, everyday money matters. So pocketbook issues. They'll share their experience, their personal experience about money. And maybe it's about how they paid off debt or saving in their TFSA. They could talk about their food budgets and show what they spend their money on. And a lot of this content connects with their audiences because it's so relatable. And then we come to the third group, and that is the group that can do a lot of damage to Canadians. And these are those influencers that are anti-skilled influencers. They're the content creators who often target the marginalized groups. So groups that have historically been ignored by financial industry. So we're looking at young people, women, and minority immigrants. And the audience here is looking for someone that speaks to them in their language on a platform that they understand. And so we see a lot of these anti-skilled Finfluencers speak against credentials. They explain away the need for this because they provide content under the guise of financial literacy. So they're thinking it's just education. And I've looked at so many of their accounts, and they write under their bio that they're not giving financial advice. But they really are, right? They foster this huge distrust for credentials. And they say that financial experts are too expensive and that they should follow their advice. And they offer a lot of different products to sell to help them, to help people look as good as they do, either financially or, they show how much wealth they have, and they sell the ideal lifestyle through products and services they sell online.
So, Kerry, we're going to be going to a commercial break right now, but I just quickly want to say, all those professionals with credentials that are regulated, they're not allowed to give investment advice because of the Know Your Client rule. But we're going to talk more about this when we come back. So please don't go away. We'll be back with more of Kerry. Welcome back to Empowered. I am Elizabeth Naumovski, and the first part of today's show is about Finfluencers. So should we trust them? Are they our friend or are they our foe? And Kerry, you were talking about the three different types. And before we went to commercial break, we were saying that, real financial professionals are not allowed to give investment advice on air, on a radio show or whatever, because they have rules and fiduciary duties that they have to abide by. And number one is Know Your Client, the KYC. So how do Finfluencers make money?
Oh, there's different ways they can make money. Many promote questionable products like a hot stock, an investment scheme. Maybe it's crypto. Real estate's really popular too. Many of them sell unaccredited courses. So because they like to prop up their wealth, they say, get wealthy like me, just here's the course and I'll show you how to do it. These courses are unregulated as well. So we don't know what's in there and how damaging it could be to someone's financial future. Some could earn affiliate income. So they partner with a financial brand or a platform or service, and they get paid to promote them. And, a lot of them have to write that they're sponsored by, but I think those words hit really differently when they say advertising for. Mm-hmm. So we're really used to influencers suggesting products and services out in the beauty industry. But here in the financial industry, it's a little newer and it can be a lot more toxic to someone's future.
It's interesting. Back in 2019, we were at a dinner party and one of the guests said, what do you think about this? My friends have signed up for a crypto course to understand cryptocurrency, mm-hmm. and it's costing them $1,500 to sign up for this course, and they're going to learn how to trade crypto and how to understand it. And we all kind of sat there with this blank look saying, we don't understand what's happening here. Why would you pay so much money for something that you don't even understand?
Well, exactly. I mean, this whole area is really exciting to a lot of people, though, especially during lockdown. We saw a lot of people get excited about short selling. And because we're online and we're all grouped together on these platforms, it's easy and it normalizes the whole process of buying a course because you see everyone around you buying those courses as well. And you get excited about crypto because it's in the news all the time. So it really normalizes the desire to buy up and buy into these schemes.
So we know that professionals are not allowed to legally give out advice. Are Finfluencers legally allowed to give advice? Financial advice?
Well, no, they shouldn't be, right? I mean, they don't have the credentials. They're not licensed. They're not governed by an ethics code. They're not fiduciaries. But they're definitely getting away with it. They don't have to use the Know Your Client rule as well. So, I mean, I'm not going on TikTok to learn how to do it-yourself dentistry, right? I'm not going to give myself a root canal. I'm going to go to a dentist. I'm going to pay the dentist, but we're not seeing that with money because money is something we all experience and we all are familiar with it. So we think it's okay to go online and trust these guys without credentials.
It's amazing you look at people that do have credentials and they hardly have followers. Nobody cares. Yeah. But then you look at all these other Finfluencers, 1.5 million, 2 million followers. They are making money off of the followers. So my question to you is, how's Canada doing with the regulation of financial influencer advice?
I wish I could tell you Canada's awesome at this, but we're not. We're not really moving in that direction. Australia is cracking down hard, though. I mean, they're kind of the country in the forefront of dealing with Finfluencers. In Australia, you can get up to 5 years in jail if you give unlicensed advice. there's laws for financial advice, and you need the credentials, and the Australian Securities and Investment Commission is really going after them. They're doing a whole sweep of all the social media platforms to make sure that only people that are regulated can give advice.
And it's interesting, Australia has been at the forefront here. They just arrested their first Finfluencer in, I believe it was April 2023 or May 2023. So they're out there and they're watching. And yes, you're right. Canada and the United States should step up and actually, start regulating whether it's Finfluencers or crypto or whatever, so that everyone's on the same level playing field. Now, when we come back, we're going to switch over and we're going to start talking about scammers and fraudsters, because we're all being targeted right now. So please don't go away. Welcome back to Empowered. I am Elizabeth Naumovski, and this is the second part of today's show. Now we're going to switch it to scammers and fraudsters. And what are the red flags? So, Kerry, there are a lot of financial scams to protect ourselves from. Some of the most emotionally challenging ones are personal and targeted. They are, targeted to your heart and emotions. So how are fraudsters able to target us and so often?
Right. It's really easy for them to do because they navigate through social media to find their target, right? They learn all about your family, your friends, your challenges, your loves, your likes. They're able to get all this information on you. They get your public profile, and they're able to exploit you through all that personal information. And they know how to contact you because you're right there.
One of the other ways that they target, which I just found out about, is a friend of mine, their father-in-law passed away. And so in the obituary, what do you have? You've got the widow, you've got the names of all the children, all the grandchildren, all the spouses. And so they were targeted probably about a month or so ago, where the fraudster reached out to Nona. They knew that she was Italian. Hey, Nona, it's your grandson. They said the name. I've been in an accident. My nose is broken. I need $5,000 to help me. And she said, well, did you tell any of your cousins? He said, no, I'm embarrassed. And this person actually went to the bank, and the bank said, no, we're not giving you the money. We'll only give you $2,500. And she went back home, called them, and said, I only have $2,500. And they said, that'll do. And that's what triggered it, when she knew that it was a fraud.
This sounds like the grandparent scam to me.
So why don't you explain the grandparent scam? Because it is very, very much like it.
Yeah, no. So basically, the scammers, they find all the information. It could be through an obituary. It could be through social media. And grandparents and seniors are really trusting. This is kind of still new to them. They didn't grow up with all these red flags that happen across social. So someone will impersonate their grandchild, and they'll call them up and ask for financial assistance. And they could call them, and from a different country, and they'll say they're in a different country and say they're in crisis and they need money right away. And the scammers, play on the heartstrings of the grandparents, and they say, no, don't call our parents. We're too embarrassed, like you said. And grandparents want to help their grandkids, so they'll send the money. And, when the scammers isolate them from contacting their family to check in, this is a huge red flag that seniors should be aware of, because, they should be contacting family if a grandchild is in a crisis. So that's one way around that. But this is a really common scam now.
It is. But and you know what else I heard, Kerry, which I thought was really interesting, that as a grandparent, you should say to the scammer, so do you have Fluffy with you, the dog? And say the dog's name. And if they say, yes, the dog's with me, you'll know whether that's your grandchild or not, because you know whether they have a dog, a cat, and what the name of the pet is.
I love that. It's like a secret keyword that only you know.
Yeah. So,
Use it, for sure.
so yeah, that's why I thought it was really important to bring it up. But let's talk about what are some of the biggest targeted frauds to watch out for right now?
Oh, dating scams.
Oh,
They
yes.
are romance scams. They're absolutely awful. They start with something called catfishing. And this is where a person creates a fake identity on, a social dating site, and they target the victim specifically. So the scenario is the scammer professes their love in a very short time on these apps. They want to move the conversation offline into a more private mode because the dating app pretty much tracks everything. And eventually, after they've romanced this poor person, they have an excuse always to not meet them in person. They claim they work overseas. And then they say they're in a crisis and they need money. And they may, tug on emotional strings to get that money. They may guilt them. They may get angry. They just want access to your money. And that's really, it breaks my heart, because when you go on these dating apps, you want to fall in love. That's the whole point. You want to
Exactly.
meet someone.
Yeah.
And suddenly you have someone romancing you, love bombing you. And next thing you know, they want access to your money. So this is really common. And I actually went online and I asked a lot of people on Twitter, I'm like, well, what do you do? And it was a whole bunch of guys that came online. They say, don't give anyone money. Never give money under any circumstance on any dating app. Just don't do it.
We will come back with Don't Give Up Any Money. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. This part of today's show is about scammers and fraudsters. What are the red flags? And to tell us all about it, I'm joined by Kerry Taylor, creator of Squawkfox.com and host of the Cash and Kerry podcast. Now, Kerry, before we went to break, we were talking about, you had gone on Twitter and the guy said, do not give any money, period.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you also talked about love bomb. What's a love bomb?
Love bomb is when someone inundates you with all these wonderful romantic gestures. You may send pictures to each other. You'll check in on each other before you go to sleep, when you wake up in the morning. It's just this huge romantic area zone where you have endorphins and you just feel so good. You just fall in love with this person. It's such a great high. And then the scammers take that away and you want it back because it feels so good.
It's addictive.
And that's where... Yeah, it's addictive. And that's that middle ground where they get you by asking for money, because you subconsciously want, that feeling back.
The other thing about being love bombed, quote unquote, you think that you're dealing with one person that you are so madly in love with. And it's about 20 guys or 20 women that are inundating you. And this is their job. It is their job to love bomb you.
Yeah. You never know exactly, right? You don't know what's on the other end, especially when they take you offline. These guys build specific profiles to target your every, want, everything on your list that you would love in a partner. So you just don't know.
So there are many phone and email scams to be aware of, and so many start with something called phishing. Let's explain what phishing is.
Oh my goodness. So phishing is a technique that a lot of spammers use, where they send out a non-specific email. It could be a phone number, it could be a text, it could be an email, and they're just spreading like this huge net out to hopefully find someone. So it's not like a specific thing they're targeting with you. And the phish is basically an email that's looking for your credentials. They look like a branded service provider or a bank or something you recognize. And they'll have a link for you to click to go to another web page to enter your login, your credit card, or any personal information they can use to extract money from you.
So, okay, we've got about 1:30 left. I can't believe how quickly this show has gone by today. What scams should we be on guard for? Like, what should we really be worried about right now?
Well, there's always the CRA scammed for your taxes. That's always big. Right now, there's the grocery store grocery rebate scam. Scammers are saying, enter this information, you'll get your rebate right away. Don't do it. Refund scams are big too. the service provider say you've paid too much, enter this information, you'll get your refund. Those are some of the biggest ones. So anything with a service provider, a bank, a cell phone, the CRA, those are the big target areas.
So what words of wisdom do you have for people out there just to make sure that, I always say stop, pause, think, delete, whatever. What words do you have that will help people out there so that they don't become a victim of a scam?
Right. Well, I mean, there's so many scams out there. It's bound to happen to someone you love and care about. The red flags are generally when you get an email, there's spelling mistakes, a shortened link. There's some coercion, some stress that they'll give you. They'll entice you with an award or refund. These are all red flags. And, if you feel like you have been a victim of fraud, go to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. They're online. They're part of the RCMP as well. And report it. Collect all the information you have. Collect the emails, the correspondence, the information they were looking for. They can help you from there. They can give you specific help for your province, and they can advise you what your next steps are. Do
Great.
not feel ashamed or embarrassed.
Thank you so much, Kerry. These are wonderful words of wisdom. Bye for now. Protect yourself from future fraud. Scammers often target victims of fraud a second or third time with the promise of recovering money. Always do your due diligence and never send recovery money. Share any updates with the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, your financial institutions, Equifax, TransUnion, and your local police department. Do not be ashamed. Tell friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers about your experience. If you think that you or someone that you know has become a victim of fraud, contact the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre at 1-888-495-8501. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. I'm here to empower you and make frugality fashionable. Bye for now.